Here on PC, we of course had a refund policy for a little while now on Steam, and of course we've had one for even longer on services such as Origin, but on consoles there is of course quite the lack of a refund policy. Of course Sony themselves have come under fire for their rather, shall we say, lackluster policy on the PlayStation Store, but it seems Microsoft are ahead of the game when it comes to this, as they're apparently planning to introduce refunds for digital content purchased from both the Xbox and Windows Store, and this will bring them nicely in line with services like Steam. Now, this was actually listed as a feature in the latest alpha release for the Xbox One Insider program, and there was a photo posted on the Xbox One subreddit. Now, this policy does only apply for full games and paid apps and doesn't apply to things like DLC or season passes. Now, according to Microsoft, these are, quote, self-service refunds, and they do work in a very, very similar way to that of Steam. Now, here's the terms, I guess you could say, of the refund policy from Microsoft, and that's games and apps are eligible for self-service refunds within 14 days of purchase if you've played less than 2 hours of playtime across all accounts. As already mentioned, DLC, season passes and add-ons are not eligible, and the game or app must be downloaded and launched before requesting a refund, and you must wait for at least 1 day after the release of the game before requesting a refund, and certain Windows 10 apps will not be eligible, and of course, as always, they do reserve the right to block people who actually take the mickey when it comes to the self-service refunds. Now, all of this will sound very, very familiar to anyone who has used or even known about, I suppose, the Steam service refund that was implemented by Valve. It functions in pretty much the same way. You have to play less than 2 hours and within the last 14 days as well. The main difference between this and Steam, of course, is that Steam does allow you to ask for refunds for DLC, as long as they haven't played for less than more than 2 hours, should I say, and it does count for in-game purchases as well. And obviously, as I mentioned, Origin does also offer refunds on all EA published games and some third-party games as well. But despite the small differences between that and Steam, the big thing here really is that this will make the Xbox Store the first console storefront to allow refunds on digital purchases. Now, of course, for a physical disc, you can just trade it in, you can take it back to the shop or what have you, and you got a little recourse to make that money back, essentially. But with a digital purchase up until now on console, if you didn't like the game, well, you were kind of at the mercy of whatever platform holder you were on, you know, being Sony or Microsoft. With this, at least, you just go, okay, I played this game for an hour, it's not at all what I thought, don't like it, or it's broken, or whatever it happens to be, and then you just put forward the refund, and there you go, your money is back under your account. So there is a bit of murkiness around this, as of course, as I said, DLC isn't included, so would you still be able to get a refund for something like a digital deluxe program? Now, probably you would be able to, because, you know, the DLC came with the game, so, you know, that would be a bit weird if you couldn't get a refund for that. But Microsoft has said that the self-serve refunds are in a pilot testing stage on both Xbox and Windows Insider programs, and it is limited to a handful of people at the moment, so it is entirely possible that they may change these policies and make it more clear that, okay, if you've got a digital deluxe version that came with a season pass or something like that, you can still get your money back for that, but if you were to purchase the DLC after the fact, you decided you wanted the DLC as well as the game, but you already bought the game before that, then you can't get your money back for that. Or even if you do like the game and you want to keep the main game, you can't get your money back for DLC. I think that's what they mean. I doubt they would bar you from getting a refund for a digital deluxe version, but again, this is still being tested, it's still being tweaked, but I think the base principle of it has to be under 2 hours and has to be within 2 weeks is going to remain fairly steadfast. Now, while it's not brilliant that it's taken them so long to implement a service like this, I always say better late than never, and it is definitely a really, really good step forward that they've implemented this. It does bring the Xbox platform in line with that of PC, and obviously just gives basic rights to the consumer that they are, of course, entitled to by law, which is always nice, and just gives you more confidence when purchasing as well. It's nice to know that if you buy a game on Steam or Windows 10 or wherever, that if it sucks or if it's broken, you can just get your money back, no muss, no fuss, no bother. So I have to say, you know, nice on Microsoft to doing this, even if it took them a little while. again, better late than never. Now, one last thing I want to mention before I close off this video is that there has been a little bit of criticism of this particular system from a developer, the Chinese Room, who you probably know best for Dear Esther and Amnesia and Machine for Pigs, as well as Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. And, well, you know, they're not exactly shy, they have been fairly outspoken in the past when it comes to other issues, and basically they have criticised the 2-hour time limit for this particular platform, and they said on Twitter, quote, "Bit depressed about Xbox jumping on the 2-hour refund bollocks," and then basically said, "It's really simple, Refund should operate off a percentage of game completed, simple, fair, representative, this 2-hour thing is just cock. For reference, you can get nearly halfway through Silent Hill in 2 hours. If you need to play 50% of the game to figure out if you like it, ... And you can kind of see his point, to be fair. Another developer, the guy behind Gary's Mod, joked that technically their game could take about 2 minutes to complete, so refunds would actually be for those who played the less than 6 seconds. I mean, obviously he's joking with that, but the point remains that, say you've got a game that is 5 hours long, just for example, you've got a small indie game, perhaps it's very story focused, something like that. You know, it's fairly short but good product for what it is. 2 hours is actually a fairly significant portion of that game. So it's a fair point that maybe it should be on a percentage basis rather than just, hey, 2 hours, because you know, with some other games 2 hours might even be the total runtime for certain games. So that is a fair criticism, but to be honest with you, I don't see Microsoft changing their policy for indie games. I think they've got AAA in mind with this, or a game that's like 10 to 15 hours, because obviously 2 hours is still significant, but not as significant in a 5-hour product. So yeah, a fair point I think from the Chinese Room, if a bit bombastically worded, shall we say, but I don't see the timing changing, and I think it affects Steam more than Xbox One, to be honest, because obviously Steam has a ton of indie games, and I think that a percentage policy might be better, but that would actually be a lot of work to implement, and obviously calculating the percentage would have to be done on a game-by-game basis. So, in all realistically speaking, should I say, English is hard apparently, it's not going to happen. So, either way, despite those criticisms, I've got to say, nice one Microsoft. Hopefully it gets implemented to every user sooner rather than later. And yeah, hopefully this encourages both Sony and Nintendo to follow suit, as of course they do not have a self-service refund policy at the moment. They do of course have support, you can ring and hope for the best, but obviously they don't have a way to just get your money back. Easy peasy. So yeah, that's me done for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.